as is the customary of Toastmasters, like how many of you were there for Monday's session, last Monday? Okay, the rest of you, I think, as the session progresses, you know how it goes. So, as is the customary of Toastmasters, you need to make sure you switch off your mobiles. And we should have started the session by 8 o'clock, but many people started coming in. We have to start 10 minutes late. So the Toastmasters session has to be started off with the president, and he needs to give it to the Toastmaster of the day. I am the Toastmaster of the day, I'm Anusha. I am the presiding officer for the entire session, and I'll be introducing various roles that the others are taking. So, as is given in the list that is given to you, any Toastmaster session happens in 3 parts. One is the prepared speeches, wherein you need to prepare the speech according to, you have Toastmasters manual that will be given to you eventually, wherein it specifies as to how exactly you need to structure your speech. The first one should be an introductory speech, which is an icebreaker. The second one is you put more emphasis on how you structure your speech. You have to have a main body and all. So overall there will be 10 speech projects. So that constitutes prepared speeches. After that it's impromptu. You will be given a topic which can be funny or which cannot be, or you can make the impromptu speech funny. That you need to make sure that you'll be given 30 seconds and you need to come up with a 2-minute speech. So it will not more than 30 seconds per person. And the last one, which is the main part, which is the evaluation part. The best part about Toastmasters is anybody can evaluate anybody. Just like you've seen, if you can take up the roles, various evaluator roles that are given here, and you can give your judgments. It's not that we're evaluating them on a very high scale, but after coming here on the stage, with or without your note, you can make mistakes. We need to overcome that, even the stage fear, as you all know of the Toastmaster session. So now I'll introduce various the roles of the day. First, it's general evaluator, that's taken up by Satish. General evaluator, he evaluates how the session goes, and he evaluates the evaluators. That is, he evaluates me, whether I did my job correctly or not, whether the Toastmaster, table topic master of the day did his job correctly or not. So, in the end, he gives his feedback. After, then, Toastmaster of the day, I'm the Toastmaster of the day. And the table topics master of the day is Rashmi Ranjan. His role, he gives you the topics, impromptu topics, and you'll be given 30 seconds, as I've already said. And speech evaluator is taken up by Shreya. She evaluates the prepared speeches based on the attributes, just like I mentioned. Every speech project, we call the speeches a speech project, the 10 of them. She will evaluate them based on what is required from you for that particular speech project. And then speech evaluator for impromptu speeches is taken up by Nikita. And then our counter, he measures the number of R's or the filler words that you use in your speech. So you'll get to know whether the number of R's are exceeding. You need to make sure that in your next speech the number of R's goes down. And the timer, and also the timer also plays a very important role because he signals you once the 5 minutes is over. For a prepared speech, the maximum allowed time limit is 5 or 6 minutes, depending on the speech project level. And he signals you after 4.5 or 5 minutes, and then you need to make sure that you give a proper ending to your speech. Otherwise, suppose you exceed 5 or 6 minutes, your entire speech will be disqualified. Till now we have given a leeway, but we are making sure because we've seen like it has been extended to 8 or 9 minutes. But we have to finish it off within 1 hour, so we'll make it mandatory that you guys stick to the time. And that's it. So the comedian is Nikita. She doesn't point out any mistakes on an individual note, but she makes sure that if at all any grammatical mistakes are made, she just points them out. And she also gives you a word of the day. that word in your speeches as many times as you want. That gives you brownie points when you're the best speaker is going to be selected. So try to include the word of the day. So now we'll start off with the prepared speeches. The first one we'll call Vasundhara. Let's do what And another customary sign of Toastmasters is whenever you're handing over the dials to somebody, you just shake your hand and vice versa. The other.
Hello everyone. Before coming here, I thought there would be not this much people, but I'm little bit stressed, but not that much. Actually, I'm not. I thought to prepare a speech as soon as Toastmaster committee sent a mail for prepared speech. I gave my name because only 5 people are allowed. I thought there is much gap, 5 days. I can prepare much better than previous speeches. But you know, here hectic schedule, you don't get find time. And today I realized today is Monday and I have to give prepared speech, and I prepared just before coming here. That's not good, but that's why I thought to select the topic gap. What the gap means, because you have to proper gap whatever you want to do, and anything anything happening that has to be a proper gap in between. It can be any gap like communication gap. Communication gap cause some kind of wrong conclusion, and generation gap, societal gap, and so many gaps which has to be proper. Like in communication gap, it happens among friends and in group. Last time when I gave my prepared speech, I gave a speech on friend, and I told that I and my best friend, we never compete in the class. But I think table topic master of that day, he conceived it in wrong way because I didn't put it properly. That was my mistake. That's why I am taking this Toastmaster membership. That's the other is communication gap, that people take your words wrongly. That's the point. And the second is generation gap. Most of the time, because of generation gap in society, so many conflicts happen between two generations. You might have seen like in family, most of the fathers scold the son because of their hairstyle. What is this new generation? Why your hairstyle has changed? Can't you comb your hair, and all these things happen. Girls can manage, but for boys it is more difficult to deal with their parents and all this thing. What I have seen in my family. And that is societal gap, because you have to look in societal gap also, because somebody have something in excess, and there is somebody else who is living in scarcity. You can say anything like food and anything. Somebody is dying because of starving, but somebody have been excess, and we are just eating and eating, and we are getting overweight and all this thing. We have to just see that perspective. As we are student of management study, and I am. That's the gap which we have to just make a bridge in between. That there has to be balance. We cannot just take very short gap also a very long gap, because you can say like gap in between two terms. What we see here, sometimes we are not getting any gap between two terms. We are IPM students. I am saying about that. They're not getting any gap between two. But I'm not asking them for a big gap like 1 year, because it will be big punishment for somebody, because they have to separate it for 1 year. But there has to be a proper gap. Then only we can recharge for next term. That's how the gap is very important. And I think without gap we cannot take things properly, because you see nowadays from 4 days we have guest lecture. All are very good, very fine, very motivating. But it is everyday continuation for us, IPM student. It is continuation that we cannot grasp what they want to say. We are very interested, but every day, some day Sonal Kirkire, other day some Bhavna, and then other day some big people are coming. But there has to be some gap. We can think over that. Just everybody is saying be yourself, what you're thinking motivated your passion. But that has to be after gap and gap that we can motivate continuously. One day you cannot motivate and it will retain for whole year. That's what I want to say. We have to proper gap and we have to maintain and we have to see all things, communication gap, generation gap and all societal gap. We have to look at that, and by this I thanks.
Thank you, Vasundhara. I think she was more overwhelmed by the number of people here. She didn't give enough gaps sometimes in between the speeches. And as rightly pointed out by her, PGP office is not giving us enough leeway as well in terms of interns and assessments, because PGP2 is still with, even PGP1 also been late to it. And trust me, I think Vasundhara is one person who put Toastmasters to the best use of all. Because when she came out in the beginning, she was very nervous and all, and she had to come over from a vernacular background. She did an excellent job. She's one of the examples. Next, I'll call upon Samir to give us his topic is unity, diversity, and the speech lesson.
Good evening, friends. It gives me great pleasure to share a few thoughts with you on the idea of unity in diversity. No other country in the world embraces the extraordinary mixture of ethnic groups, the profusion of mutually incomprehensible languages, the varieties of topography and climate, the diversity of religions and cultural practices, and the range of levels of economic development that India does. Just thinking about India makes clear the immensity of the challenge of defining what it means to be an Indian. How can one approach this land of snow peaks and tropical jungles with 23 major languages and 22,000 distinct dialects, inhabited in the second decade of the 21st century by over 1 billion individuals of every ethnic extraction known to humanity? How can one determine the future of an ageless civilization that was the birthplace of 4 major religions, a dozen different traditions of classical dance, and 85 major political parties? The short answer is that it can't be done, at least not to everyone's satisfaction. The singular thing about India is that you can only speak about it in the plural. I'll give one example. When India celebrated the 49th anniversary of its independence from the British rule, our then Prime Minister H.D. Deve Gowda stood on the ramparts of Delhi's 17th century Red Fort and delivered the Independence Day address in Hindi, India's national language. Now, before him, 8 other Prime Ministers had done the same thing, 48 times. But what was unusual in this case was that Deve Gowda was a southerner from the state of Karnataka, and he spoke to the country in a language he did not know a word about. Tradition and politics required a speech in Hindi, so he gave one. The words having been written out for him in his native Kannada script, in which they of course made no sense. Now, such an episode is almost inconceivable elsewhere, but it represents the best of the oddities that help make India. Only in India would a country be ruled by a man who does not understand its national language. Only in India, for that matter, is there a national language which half the population does not understand. And only in India could this particular solution be found to enable the Prime Minister to address his people. For we are all minorities in India. A typical Indian stepping off a train in Uttar Pradesh, a Hindi-speaking Hindu male, might cherish the illusion that he represents the majority community. But he does not. As a Hindu, he belongs to the faith adhered by some 81% of the population. But a majority of the country does not speak Hindi. A majority does not hail from Uttar Pradesh. And if you are visiting, say Kerala, he would discover that a majority is not even male. Even his Hinduism is no guarantee of majorityhood because his caste automatically places him in a minority as well. Or take language. The Constitution of India recognizes 23 today, but in fact there are 35 Indian languages which are spoken by more than 1 million people. Indian nationalism is a rare animal indeed. It is not based on language, it is not based on geography, it is not based on ethnicity, and it is not based on religion. The notion of majority and minority is fundamentally un-Indian and fails to reflect the real nature of our society. The reduction of any groups of Indians to second-class status in their homeland is unthinkable, and it would be a second partition. A partition in the Indian soul would be as bad as a partition in the Indian soil. The Indian identity should be one that celebrates diversity. Now, it is a deceptively simple idea of a land where it doesn't or shouldn't matter what the color of your skin is, the kind of food you eat, the sounds you make when you speak, the God you choose to worship or not, so long as you want to play by the same rules as everybody else. India as a country has got huge problems to overcome. Now, some people claim that we are a superpower, but we are also super poor. We can't really be both of those. We have to overcome our poverty. We have to deal with the hardware of development, the ports, the roads, the airports, all the infrastructure progress we need to make, and the software of development, that is the human capital. The need for the ordinary person in India to be able to have a couple of square meals a day, to be able to send his or her children to a decent school, and to aspire to work a job that will give them opportunities in their lives to transform themselves. But it's all taking place, this great adventure of conquering those challenges, and it's all taking place in an open society, in a rich and diverse and plural civilization. By preserving the diversity that is its essence, India can ensure that all its people can enjoy a new dawn in the years to come. Thank you very much.
That was a speech, great speech for content, and actually it's advised not to use the paper for the, any aid for the first two speeches. Sorry, it's allowed for the first two speeches. From then thereafter, it's advised not to use it because there's nothing wrong in using it, but you'll miss the connect with your audience. You'll be focusing more on the paper rather than your audience. There'll be no eye contact with your audience. That is how you just evolve yourself as a speaker. So next is called Sri Durga from Professor.
When I thought of a topic for this presentation today, basically what we do when we don't know the answer, we basically browse the search engines, browse the internet. We are so used to it. The very used search engine is Google. When I don't know the answers, I Google it. So this brings us to the topic of today, Google. But is this all what Google does? Let me briefly history of Google once. Google began in January 1996, founded as a company on September 4. The founders are Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Larry Page and Sergey Brin were doing their PhD at Stanford University. When they discovered Google or invented Google, they
It was under the Stanford University. The Google was basically under the Stanford University. When they when they thought that it was an abstraction to their academic pursuance, thought of starting it as a company or marketing it as a company. So it started the initial public offerings. The formal Google slogan is, the aim of the Google is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. The informal one is a Google Don't Be Evil. This basically means that we could earn profits or earn revenues without harming others. This is basically, they capitalize the Microsoft's inefficiency in the organization to take advantage of it. The success factor which made the Google different from the already existing search engine was a new technology page rank. Whenever we search for a certain word or whatever, the Google search engine first relates it links down the website and finds the relation between them and arranges it according to the importance of the site. So this was named backrub because the system used to check back the links and arrange it according to the importance of the site. The Google timeline, the Google, at the time passed, Google came up with various products. It started with Google and then Google AdWords, Talk, Gmail, Google Chrome, Android, and the signature is still going on, experimentation is still going on. The Google products. The Google products are basically categorized into five categories. The first one is the advertising category. This includes the Google products like AdWords, AdSense, and the search engine, that is Google. The productivity tools like Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets, and enterprise products like Gmail, Google Chrome, and the miscellaneous products like the Google Cloud, Google Car, Google Fiber. In fact of its glory and beauty of its inventions and products, there are certain products which were not big yet. So Google has itself stopped producing or further producing these products. So for the promotion of its new products. So I've listed down Google Reader, iGoogle, Google Talk, which is very everyone knows very stock standardization. The Google Doodles, whenever we open the home page on special occasions, we find the Google written in different forms. This is called the Google Doodles. This was invented by the founders before even the Google was founded as a company. They've taken this, a bit more serious, and they started organizing competitions all around the world. These two pictures here you see are the winners of India. The Smart Google, looking into the latest technology of Google. Google Glass. Google Glass is basically, in simple words, it's a wearable computer. It functions, it displays the, whatever a smartphone does, it displays it on the glass that it has. This is how it works. The touchpad, the white surface that you see, it's the touchpad, and the glass is this one where the display is projected. The next one is Google Fiber. It's a broadband network infrastructure. It uses the fiber optic communication. Next comes the Google Car. In simple words, it's a driverless car. It enables the blind to use the car for further enjoyment. This uses all the latest technologies available. And coming into the management style or the management perspective of the Google, let's look at Google strategy. It includes the 4 E's. The first one is earn. As I already told you, Google earns most of its revenue from its advertisements. This includes the products that I've mentioned, AdWords and AdSense. Basically, if an advertiser wants to advertise a product, they give they give the product to the Google. Whenever you search for something, you can see a yellow color dialog box on the web pages that are listed. It is basically for Google Ads, where the advertiser is priced per click of the user. Enticing event, the second P. They, in order to allow the users to use more of the Google products and spend more time on Google, they've come up with various products like Gmail, YouTube, where you can see the ads before you start the video. And then comes the expand part. They've come up with various inventions like the Google Glass, Google TV, Google Android. And the fourth one is the experiment lab, where it's a research and development lab. So where's Google making its money? Google earns most of its revenue from advertisements. So I've already mentioned it. Basically, Google analyzes the keywords that we enter, that a user enters, and then accordingly it gives the advertisements. So let's look into the top 20 most expensive words. The first category is insurance. It costs around 3,000 to 4,000 per click for the advertiser. And the second category is loans, where it is $45. And the third category is mortgage. And various other categories are the Google controversies. Let's look into Google controversies. The Google books, already we know that various books are available in Google, but there are certain copyright issues that many authors did not answer. And then censorship, there is abusive content that you can find in Google. And then the Google Park, because of some of the content in YouTube, it didn't, it kind of want the Google to privacy issues. As I mentioned about the Google Glass, it doesn't define any of the privacy issues. Like whenever you say, you can just wear the computer and then take a video wherever you want. So it doesn't give you the privacy issues. And as I already mentioned, that Google always analyzes your search words. So Google is always watching. After looking into all this, should we be so dependent on Google? Just to add some Google Man. That's a Google where you can be digital as well as use the search engine. It's up to you.
Thank you, Rupa. One of the main reasons Toastmasters International mandated the speech to be 5 to 6 minutes is because they also know that once 5 minutes are done, we all become restless, start talking to each other. Now we are done with the prepared speeches. Now I hand over the dais to table topic master of the day. He will carry this.
Good evening. Before I start, to set the context, what C said during her prepared speech in the Google topic, it was a level 2 speech. The idea was to organize her thoughts. What she needed to say, she needed to articulate it very clearly. She had this idea of talking about Google. So, Google is something every time we have it on our fingertips. So, we are very frequented with this topic. So, but it might not be for her. So, she had this idea of telling about Google. She started off with Google's history, background, who are the founders and all. Then she showed us the timeline. Then she showed us what are the products Google had created, and some of them had perished, some of them had been blockbusters, and all those things. Then at the back end of her speech, she showed us the management style and the futuristic devices that Google is creating, like Google Glass and the automated car and all those stuff. So her idea was to start from something and then lead us to some end. Okay, so that was the idea. I guess now it is clear why she talked about such thing and how it reinforces the Toastmasters prepared speech levels. In level 2, that was the idea. So I wish she had been a bit more forceful. It would have been added a bit more flavor to her speech. Anyway, the evaluators will take up that during the evaluation stage. So without much delay, I will start off with the impromptu speeches. I have a couple of topics with me, very interesting topics, and the speakers will have a good time. If not, at least the audiences will. I guess I'll start off with from the last, because I sit in the last bench, so I'll start off with Akshay. Akshay, your topic is why you don't want to be a millionaire. Why you don't want to be a millionaire.
Good evening, all of you. My topic is that why I don't want to be a millionaire. Well, I don't think so. Somewhere here, being in IIM wants that, but still, it's a topic. I have to speak on that. So, these days I'm studying social problems in India. It's a subject. So I'm studying poverty. So I think after studying that, I think poor people are necessary. I'm starting from theoretical aspect of being poor and how poor people helps to maintain the balance in the society. So I think being poor, carrying out such activities which millionaire cannot carry. So this is one of the functional aspect of being poor. Now, going towards my own wish. I think being a millionaire, you have seen Mr. Ambani Group, stock market crash and it's just gone. I don't think so. What is gaining from being a millionaire, rather a billionaire? So, from bottom to the top, on every topic, on every miss happening to the company, he cannot enjoy his life. So, I don't think so that I can enjoy to a level. Plus, some of the passions, I love to do crazy things. I'm kind of mad girl. I think so I need to mention that, but still I am. So, to do crazy things, like dancing on the street, and some more things like that, I don't think so you need to be a millionaire, you can't do like that. And so, pertaining to that, doing crazy things, carry out such activities which millionaire cannot, enjoy every moment of my life, at least, and especially when I actually want to pursue my interest in finance field. So I think if I'm not a millionaire, I won't be at least sad to look at the stock market crashing. or any such issue like in finance. And thank you. Moving forward.
Well, I have my own way of saying things like, if somebody would have asked me this question, I would have started off with, who the hell are you to tell me why I don't be a millionaire? Of course I want to be a millionaire. Then started off with giving 10 reasons why I want to be a millionaire. So, anyway, by the way, see if you happen to get a bumper lucky draw from any lucky prize or something, you can hand me over that. Moving on, I would like to call one from the PGP ones who are here to come up and attend one. Okay, anyways, where do you stay? In SR11? SR8. Okay. So you do not have the opportunity of moving on the elevators. Okay.
No one has the opportunity.
Why?
It's dysfunctional currently.
So I'll give you that opportunity here. Suppose that you are stuck in the elevator and light is, there is a power cut or something. You are stuck in the elevator. What would you do? That's the topic. Okay.
So, hello everyone. I'm Nimesh from BGP Bar. So I'm stuck in an elevator and it's dark, and I hope I have the freedom of choosing my partner, somebody inside the elevator. So most probably most of the guys here will think of someone like Sunny Leon or someone else. I'll probably go with someone like Rahul Dravid. And not for some other reasons, only because I like that opportunity to talk to the man. I mean, there will be no other opportunity will have that much time with him. He will always be very busy. He will always have somewhere to run. And but that elevator, those moments, I'll have him all for me, and I can talk to him. I'll just do the talking, nothing else. Please. I'll have lots of things to learn from him. The way he conducts himself, the way he has been brought up, the way he, handles all the pressure and has so much popularity and yet remains so humble. So there'll be a lot to learn from him. And maybe, if it continues for long, the blackout, then maybe I can, or he can also narrate a few stories to me about his childhood. And what I'm trying to say is that I would want it to be a very enriching experience for me, the blackout. We can do several other things, any time of the day. But the blackout, I would hope it becomes it shows me light. It becomes something that enriches me, enlightens me. And therefore, that would be the way I would use the blackout of the elevator. I hope it's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Animesh. I guess most of us over here missed a very important thing he said. He said that there is something to learn from him, and that is something how he handles pressure. So, I think no one did it. He said that I need to learn how he handles pressure. So I think that is the most important thing when you are stuck in the elevator and no way to get out. Okay. Still, too bad. So I would like to call next up Shreya. The topic is, when death is inevitable, why bother about career plans? When death is inevitable, why bother about career plans?
everyone. My topic is when death is inevitable, why bother about career plans? Now, when you all know that you're going to die one day, why should you actually be here? And why are you all here? But then the bigger question is, you don't know when you're going to die, so you need to be prepared. So I can either be very chilled out, or I can be very, very straightforward, and I can actually work upon my career goal as everyone is doing. Everyone in the society, when you're born, the first thing that your parents decide is you're going to be an engineer or a manager or a doctor. So you can either follow that, or you can make a new plan every day and work upon that, and just wait for your best. And you can explore, you can dream, as I mentioned in my last speech. Dream high and dream big, and just explore the opportunities. Or you can do as everyone in the society does, be a normal person, get a degree, get a very good job, get married, have kids, and then, the further process. So, why actually bother with career plans? It depends on you. So, just how you are actually born and how you think decides how you value this topic, how much you value this topic.
Question. Thank you, sir. Moving on, I would like to call Sameer. Sameer, your topic is consider yourself the temple bell and say something you want to. Do you like it or not? Consider it as an autobiography of a temple bell. The topic clear?
Now my topic is the autobiography of a temple bell. Now what we regularly call, in Hindi we call it a ghanta. For many people it comes under the category of slang. First of all, I'm really disappointed that that's how people have, that's the word they use in Hindi. Another thing is that when people go to a temple, why do they ring the bell? What could be the possible reason? It is maybe the gods are sleeping, so they just want to wake them up, and they bang, what do you call it? They bang really. It hurts, People use my name to make fun of other people. Married couples, they ring the bell and they run away from their parents and they wake up the gods, and the gods start cursing me. The gods are also against me in the sense that because of my presence. Otherwise, when you go to a temple, people pray in silence and they pray to themselves. But because of my presence, I create a lot of noise. I disturb the sleep of the gods, unfortunately. I perform a very important function for the people who believe in Hinduism. And I'm proud of that. There are some temples where I am found in abundance, but the problem is I cannot procreate. I don't have a gender. I love my job, but but I hope we can have greater. I cannot read books in the night because there are no lights in the most of the temples in India. Sometimes snakes crawl on me, and I don't like being touched by all the dirty hands. That they don't. In India, most people they use. We don't have a high sense of hygiene when it comes when people come and they touch me. I don't like that. It puts me at the risk of communicable diseases. That's all. That is my autobiography. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir. Thanks, Samir. I mean, every time Samir comes up here, be it for impromptu or for prepared speeches, he has his own way of touching our funny bones. So I was just sitting there and listening to his prepared speech. I was hoping he will reach somewhere there, but anyways, I hope it will be much more your way next time. And you were there in the impromptu speech. I'm really happy for that. Moving on. This time I would like to call up one from our guests. Any PGP. I don't want to take the name because every one of us here are Toastmaster buddies, as we like to call them. Every one of us here are Toastmasters. We like to call them as Toastmaster and the first name. So, any of the guests, please. Before I give in the topic, I think Anusha forgot to explain the purpose of this word of the day. Every time, we have this concept called word of the day. Every time we use the word of the day, the members who are present in the session, usually we clap. We're not nerds or something. We just clap just to keep the enthusiasm for the session going. So that's it. So whenever I say pre-posters, you guys clap. So that's the thing. And one more thing, it keeps the audiences a bit more attentive. Like whenever the speaker says, speaker utters the word of the day, it makes sure that audiences are awake, unlike what happens in our classrooms. Asit, I would like to, by the way I know him, so that's why I know his name. So, Asit, I would like to give you the topic. If you were the printer guy at IIM Indore, what will you do? Topic is, you are the printer guy who is sitting over there. Yeah, in Jaipur. Have you visited him? Exactly. Have you visited him? Okay. So, you are the printer guy. Tell us something about it. Like, do you like it or not?
Given our pre-posturous schedule, we have 4 classes in a day and sometimes no classes. I find it really difficult to cope up. And my topic is I am the printer guy. So obviously I am one of the most luckiest person I am in the most sought after person because you have so many assignments lined up for a day. So people really come to me and they make very humble requests. So, but again I would like to draw your attention to the fact that I've got many other jobs to do apart from the regular printing job. So please do not come and say that give me a printout of 15 pages within 5 minutes. So we try to bear up with the kind of time constraints that I am facing. And given the fact that I am the printer guy, I would like to have a few more substitutes in other hostels because I am not really able to cope up with the kind of pressure that you people give when you come late in the evening that you want the printouts. And being a printer guy, I think I am doing a very monotonous kind of job, not really enjoying what I am doing, because you are there stuck there for the whole day and not doing any value addition. Well, it's a very repetitive kind of work. So like change your profile. Let's say I would like to do some scanning kind of stuff or some other stuff that you people give me, and that's it.
Thank you, Asim. Probably I would have, first thing, when I would have been offered a job for this printer guy, I would have asked whether I would be able to write it as a POR or not. So that might be of interest to me. So, I think we're running short of time, so I will call up the last person who has nominated himself for the impromptu speech. That's Murli. Your topic is